Peace, and welcome to the Quranic Remedies, where we spend about 15 minutes on a page on the Quran to see how we can apply the verses to our day-to-day life. And hopefully, with God's permission, that helps us heal our body, mind, and soul, and we're able to let go of things that we need to let go of. Now, today we're going to be reading from chapter 2, verses 1 to 16. I'll be reading them in Arabic and then using a translation. I'm using the translation by Shu'aib Abdullahi. The translation's name is The Great Quran, which is available online and in book form. We're going to start by reading the verses in Arabic, and then I will read them in English, and then we'll jump in and I'll tell you some of the stuff that I have learned from this book. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. I seek refuge to God from the accursed devil. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of God, the merciful, the great, the magnificent. Alif Lam Mim. ALM. ذلك الكتاب لا ريب فيه هدى للمتقين. That is the book wherein there is no doubt as guidance for the pious. الذين يؤمنون بالغيب ويقيمون الصلاة ومما رزقناهم ينفقون. Who believe in the unseen, establish the litany, and from what we have provided for them, they disperse. وَالَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِمَا أُنزِلَ إِلَيْكَ وَمَا أُنزِلَ مِن قَبْلِكَ وَبِالْآخِرَةِ هُمْ يُوقِنُونَ. Who believe in what has been revealed to you and what has been revealed before you, and they are certain of the hereafter. أُولَٰئِكَ عَلَى هُدًى مِّن رَبِّهِمْ وَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ. Those are upon guidance from their Lord, and they are those who are the successful. إن الذين كفروا سواء عليهم أأنذرتهم أم لم تنذرهم لا يؤمنون. Indeed, those who disbelieve, it is the same for them, whether you warn them or do not warn them, they will not believe. ختم الله على قلوبهم وعلى سمعهم وعلى أبصارهم غشاوة ولهم عذاب عظيم. God has sealed their hearts, their hearing, and their eyesight with a veil, and they will have a terrible punishment. وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَقُولُ آمَنَّ بِاللَّهِ وَبِالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ وَمَا هُمْ بِمُؤْمِنِينَ. And among the people are those who say, we believe in God and in the last day, but they are not believers. يُخَادِعُونَ اللَّهَ وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَمَا يَخْدَعُونَ إِلَّا أَنفُسَهُمْ وَمَا يَشْعُرُونَ. In order to deceive God and those who have believed, but they only deceive themselves and they do not perceive. في قلوبهم مرض فزادهم الله مرضا ولهم عذاب أليم بما كانوا يكذبون. There is a disease in their heart, so God has increased them in disease. They will have a painful punishment because they were lying. وإذا قيل لهم لا تفسدوا في الأرض قالوا إنما نحن مصلحون. And when they are told, do not corrupt on earth, they say we are only peacemakers. ألا إنهم هم المفسدون ولكن لا يشعرون. Verily, indeed they are the corruptors, but they do not perceive. وإذا قيل لهم آمنوا كما آمن الناس قالوا أنؤمن كما آمن السفهاء ألا إنهم هم السفهاء ولكن لا يعلمون. And when they are told, believe as the people have believed, they say, should we believe as those who are foolish? Verily, indeed, they are the foolish, but they do not know. وإذا لقوا الذين آمنوا قالوا آمنا وإذا خلوا إلى شياطينهم قالوا إنا معكم إنما نحن مستهزئون. And when they meet those who believe, they say, we have believed. But when they retreat to their devils, they say, indeed, we are with you. We were only mocking. Allahu yastahzi'u bihim wa yumidduhum fi tughyanihim ya'mahun. God mocks them and extends them in their transgression, straying. أولئك الذين اشتروا الضلالة بالهدى فما ربحت تجارتهم وما كانوا مهتدين. Those are the ones who have traded the guidance for error, so their business has not profited, nor have they been guided. So the book opens up with first explaining who the believers are, or who are the people, the believers or the guided people, and then he's telling you about the people that will not believe. So one thing that is very clear that you could see what God has put as a requirement for someone to be guided. This is what God has written. God has written that if you have these attributes and these beliefs and you do said actions, you are guided and you are successful. So you could see that first, the book is teaching you this. This is why God's saying that the book there is no doubt in. So the people and the thing with the letters, I find that there is some parallels in the verses that start with similar letters. Yes, there are people that found numerical ways of showing that the Quran is from God by using these letters, but I think there's more significance to these letters than just a numerical code. But yes, so now when it comes to how these verses apply to you, God is telling you that for the people who are aware, muttaqeen, yes, it's written pious here, but the taqwa comes from aware. So people who are constantly aware of God, that they can remember God at certain times when his name is mentioned, and even when his name is not mentioned, their way and their character is much different than a person that isn't. Because the most important thing when it comes down to faith, believing in God, but it's also about believing in the last day. Because the last day is your only limitation from saving you from yourself. Now, the people who are constantly thinking about the day of judgment, when incidents happen and when good things happen, they always attribute it back to their book. So if you insulted me, or if someone went way above and beyond in trying to hurt me or slander me, I just remember that there's a day of judgment and there's no need for always to take a retribution. I might give him a warning, I might say something to him, but I myself don't want to cross lines because I am in fear of the day of judgment. Because I do not want to be presented to my Lord in a way that I don't find acceptable. And yes, it's very hard because there are a lot of things in the world that's tempting you away from the remembrance of your Lord and serving God by making this world a better place. Okay, so how are we going to find this guidance? Well, that's done by establishing the litany or the prayer, a ritual prayer, which teaches you discipline. For you to be successful, the guidance, what is true, is that you have to have discipline. You have to have a schedule. You have to have a system. And this is what's important about this prayer. You have a set time where you spend it to remember God and to glorify God, which in return, because of your remembrance of God, you remember in his promise of yet that still hasn't happened, which is the day of judgment. So this is you believing in the unseen. And now, the way for humanity to progress is people have to spend from what they have been given. If you are a farmer and you've been given fruits, yes, you could trade some of it, but there are times where you have to feed the humanity where they can't afford the food so that we can keep progressing, making the world a better place. So for people who have no problem spending from their money, even if it's costing them their own comfort at certain times or costing them what other people would consider as important, you'll realize that on the large scale of things, when it comes down to the day of judgment, they aren't very important. Let me put it this way, on both things. So if someone transgressed against you and he beat you up, if he goes to jail, you're happy. You feel like you got your rights back. Now, what happens if you got beat up and the guy goes to jail, but 15 years later, and you spent 15 years complaining on how bad you got beat up and it hurt, and you spent money in the hospital and you never got your justice, and then the guy went to jail, and then you realize that for 15 years you were complaining for no reason because you got your justice. So you went through this agony and this pain and always thinking about it and always dwelling about this dwelling about this issue, where at the end you got your retribution. And that's what's important about the day of judgment. So you see, there is no reason for you to cry or to get hurt. And as God said, this is how you're going to achieve success in the land and the hereafter. People don't like dealing with liars. You don't lie because you're scared of the day of judgment. Same with cheating, same with cutting corners. And you want to produce the best work you can because you're serving God as you are working with your fellow human being. So there are people who, however much you warn them about the day of judgment, they won't believe. No matter what you do, they will not believe. Why? Because they have forgotten the day of judgment. They just, no matter what you say about God to them, they're just going to do whatever they want. Some people, you can even tell them like, hey man, don't talk to your friend's wife in that manner because she's his wife. She's not yours. And they'll say, yeah, you're right, man. It's not good and I shouldn't do it. But they still go ahead and do it. And those are the people who have been sealed. They have no empathy. They have no vision. They have no hearing. They don't realize the things that they're doing, how it's going to affect them in the long run. This is why they have no more vision. They don't see how things are connected. They can't hear the warning when it's told to them. They don't care about others. They don't even care about themselves, because if they did, they would consider about how they should be making themselves the best human being they can, rather than being the lowest human being, just enjoying whatever impulses is given to them, and usually they're negative impulses. Now, and there are people, now I find that there's two groups of people that fit into this category, from those who say we believe in God and the last day, but they are not believers. So there are people who are actively lying. They don't believe. They're atheists. They don't believe in the day of judgment. They think this is all a matter of hullabaloo, just like things just came out of nowhere. But they go lie to believers so that they are either playing tricks or so that they could get some benefits from the believers. Okay. And then there's another group of people where they do consciously agree that there is a God. They realize that there's a day of judgment, but God shows both of these people out as not believers by their actions. So you could see a liar when he's saying he believes in God in the last day, but like when an incident happens, the verses of God doesn't help him. The verses of God doesn't give him solitude. They are very quick to start like breaking down, like, oh, my life is so bad. It's the worst thing that could ever happen to me. There is no faith in God's mercy. Or if they're going to cross a limit and get their retribution, they will go times 10 and nothing will stop them. So you get these signs that how these people are showing signs of hypocrisy. Yet when a group of believers are together, we might not agree on certain things, but there are limits where it's very clear that this person is a believer. Because if you say a verse, he ponders about it or she ponders about it, and they might like say, yeah, I agree with you, so I'll stop back, or like, and this applies to both the group of believers and when believers are dealing with non-believers. It's very clear to see the people who are guided, and it's very clear to see the hypocrites from both of them. The people who are full out hypocrite, lying to your face while they are witnessing upon themselves atheism, while others who think they're believers, but it's all about them, and they do whatever their mind told them, and they never give God his due diligence, or the verses never affect them. So they're trying to trick God, but they can't trick God, obviously. And they're trying to trick the believers, but they can't, because we can see their actions. They call us arrogant, yet they're the ones who are showing arrogance. They're calling us deluded, yet they are clearly deluded. The way they talk to people is very clear. Hey, let's go like spend money in the way of God. No, man, I need to eat. Who's going to feed me? Okay, but you're saying things that are not very like entrenched, or it's not coming from faith, yet it's coming from doubt. And the believers, there is no doubt. Like, you're in faith with God as long as you're making wise decisions. So God says, "Fi qulubihim maradun." There is a disease in their heart. And then God tells you what the disease is. Their disease, lying. Lying is one of the worst diseases in the human being. Because when you start to lie, it becomes a habit, and it becomes worse, and it becomes worse. And you don't realize that on the day of judgment, when you're going to be created back and resurrected, if you're lying in this world, you're going to be lying in the hereafter. But people lie so much that they don't realize they're lying anymore, because there is no more, they've been desensitized. God has sealed on their ears, their hearts, their eyesight. They cannot see the fact that they're constantly lying. Okay, so God increases that. And when God's saying that there's a painful punishment because they were lying, this painful punishment, of course, is in the end. If God doesn't forgive them, they will go to hell, and it's a very painful punishment. But even in the world right now, you have a painful punishment, because people who lie, they lose their jobs, they lose their family, they lose their wives, they lose everything slowly, systematically, because nobody wants to deal with a liar. And you're always constantly in stress trying to remember what you told people, so that you can always keep your story straight, so that people don't give you that humiliation that you deserve, even though you're walking humiliated. And how many people sit there and call out liars? Very few. Usually it's only the believers that'll come tell you like, hey man, I think you're a liar, right? Most other people, they'll laugh at you, they'll joke with you, but they know you're a liar and they don't deal with you. That's a painful punishment. Living in a world where you're isolated, where people humiliate you without even you knowing it, because you have this disease in your heart called lying. Some people do it just so that they could show off, and some people do it so that they could get money, and some people do it for all sorts of reasons, and some people just lie for no reason. And this is one of the worst diseases that's in a human being. When it's told to them, we are going to go a little bit over the 15 mark because there is a small section. It's like a page and a half, or a page and a third. So when it's told to them, do not cause corruption in the land, they say, oh, we're peacemakers, or we're fixers. Well, people who are liars or disbelievers, whatever action you're putting, if you're not conscious, if there's no taqwa, if you're not conscious of God and why you're doing it, you are causing corruptions. You're going to cut corners. You're going to do things which is not fair. You're going to break your contracts. You're going to talk to people in a certain way which is not good. And that causes a chain reaction. So whatever good you think you're doing, in the very long run, the chain reaction of the things that you did worse is much bigger than whatever you thought you did good. And whatever you did good doesn't go very far. That's just how the world has been programmed. It's not because someone randomly saying who's like, you could take all these so-called successful people with money, they're spending their money in ways that making the world worse than better. And then whenever time they're speaking them out, they're deluding people into loving this world, which is going to break, and then they're fearing death, where you get to go live forever with God because they don't believe in the hereafter. And their actions are showing it. And there's people, when you tell them, like, hey, like, you see how those people believed? Why don't you believe like them? They'll say, oh, those people are stupid. Those people are not intelligent. How can you believe in God and be intelligent? We have sciences now. See, why would I believe like them? And this is within the community of so-called believers. You'll find out with Christians, Muslims, Jews, all sorts of religions, where the person, literally, you could meet them. I've seen them, where they go stand in the mosque and pray, and they're praying, and some of them leading prayers. And then you talk to them about God on a personal level, they go, man, I don't believe in God. Like, I just do it so people won't, like, embarrass me, and, like, they don't. Okay, but that's literally why he's saying to the other people that they're stupid. And he himself is the stupid one, but he doesn't realize it. Because again, they're just so short-sighted. It's very difficult for you to see the future for 5 years or 10 years where you're going to be. Now imagine in 80 years on the day of judgment. How are you you're going to realize all the things that you were taking very important. They weren't important. The things that you were stressing about were easy to fix mentally, and the things that are bothering you, they were just temporarily. And this life is like a plane ride. Why are you getting so comfortable on a plane or a bus? You're getting so comfortable that you don't want to get off when the bus has reached its destination. That is a mental disease. You're hanging on to something that's broken. That's like somebody's like toy broke, and all he wants to do is keep playing with this toy that doesn't work anymore. And this is how the mentality of this disbelievers are. Now, and yeah, when they see the believers, they say that they believe, but then you could see the devils inside them, and the human devils that they go to. Like, they'll go pray, and then they go outside, and they're a group of thugs just waiting for them so that they could go in the car. As soon as they get in the car, they blast music as if they're hard. Well, you just left the prayer thinking about God, but now you're completely disconnected. You, like, imagine if you're seeing God right now. If God has shown his physical, if there was a physical presence to God in the world, people will not shout. People will not scream. People will not fight. People will barely talk. People will be very scared because everything is just instantly answered to them. So on the day of judgment, that's how it's going to be. But God is here right now. So you need to understand, like, you have to come back and stay grounded, and you don't want to start showing off and being arrogant, and you don't want to lie. So they make fun of believers. We get made fun of all the time, but God is increasing them in their transgression, not by forcing them into transgression. God doesn't oppress people. They themselves are oppressive. God is not forcing them to have bad thoughts. They are the ones who are having bad thoughts, and it became a habit. And you can see the human being, it's all habits, right? But how is God increasing them in transgression? Here's another $100. Here's more blessings. Here is a car. Here is a house. Here, I'm going to introduce you to more people. Here is a bigger business. Here is more opportunity. And what do they do in return? They cause more corruption, and they cause more pain, and they cause more hurt, because this is how they see the world. But if someone with this, who's a believer, who got the exact same things that they did, they will flourish more and quicker and with more roots, stronger roots in whatever they're doing, and it would be dedicated to God. And thus it would make this world a better place. It would be part of the larger system, which is the whole universe, where all the animals, all the plants, all the air, everything where it's connected, you're part of that system and making the world better for everybody. Or you're part of your social system, this culture that we have where it is disconnected from God, and it's, as people want to call it, the matrix. It's just detached from reality is what it is. So they bought misguidance for truth, because you can't have both. You can either buy misguidance or buy guidance. Oh, I want a big car, a nice house, and a bunch of girls. Okay, I just bought misguidance. Why? Because my life is going to be full of painful torment. And mentally, people are going to hate me. I'm going to go through a lot of pain. Even if I conquered, I'm going to be under a lot of stress. There is no peace up here. I might find peace around me, but in here, there will be no peace. Or I can buy guidance, where I don't need much, because I'll get much later. I don't need to sit here and worry about problems. I'm happy. So that is where the guidance is, which God explained earlier. And in the long run, whoever bought misguidance, at the end, you get nothing. Like you've traded it like a piece of paper for gold, and your paper got ripped within 20 years. It got like corroded, ripped, dead. That's it. You get nothing from this paper, while the piece of gold still holds its value for however long the world runs. But the important thing is, if you are looking for guidance, God told you very clearly to show trust. Showing trust is believing in the unseen. You have to have discipline. You have to remember God constantly. This is why that prayer, the ritual prayer, is very important. It's not about the style and how you get up and do it. The fact is that you need to set up a structure, a system, and you need to pray. Those are also explained in the Quran and other verses. And you have to spend from your heart, because technically it's not yours. Yes, you have the responsibility of it, but God is going to inherit it at the end. And you have a responsibility towards the people around you. You have to spend from what you were given. And if you are fortunate enough to be able to be making a certain set amount of wealth, then you're supposed to be helping more people. And then the other thing is, you have to believe that there is superiority. So whatever has been revealed to the prophet, okay, that is something that is guidance for you to find the light. But the way that we know it's from God is because it has also been revealed multiple times. The system of guidance has not changed, and the system of misguidance and the ingredients for misguidance will never change. That is what God has written. But God didn't write for you to disbelieve. God has written the components for disbelief, and you chose to disbelieve. So this is the time where, if you want to get guided, you choose guidance and you start letting go of things. You start thinking of the day of judgment and the importance of it. And then you start praying constantly and often and talking to God as if he's there in front of you, which he is there in front of you, but you just can't see him. Tomorrow we will carry on with the next few lines in the next page, and peace and blessings to everybody.